Hello everyone, we are going to talk a bit more about expressions. And what are expressions? If we recall, they are little lines of code that we can use to automate or link or modify animations in After Effects. Let's make a new composition. We'll call this one wiggle expression. And we'll make it 1920 by 1080 pixels, 24 frames a second, and about 10 seconds long. Keep the background color black, and we're going to replace that with a new solid. And make it any color that you like that's not black. I'll make mine, why not? And then we're going to lock this into place. And we're going to create several shapes here. So let's sort of like see if we can't think to ourselves at how we're going to divide this up. I want to say there's a variety of little grids I can put up here if I wanted to, but I don't really want to here. But what we'll do is we're just going to create a couple of shapes. I'm going to create a couple of ellipses here, a couple of circles. So I'm just going to create one, and then I'm going to change the stroke to be nothing and the fill to be something that's going to show up well against the blue. So in this case, sort of an orange color. And I'll center the anchor point here. Let me just hold down Control Alt and hit home on the keyboard, and then we'll rename it, hit enter on the keyboard and call it circle 1. And then I'll duplicate that twice, and then I'll make 2 circles here. So we'll have these 2 circles just kind of chilling out here at the top, and we can kind of like align these, and then we can also distribute them evenly across the top there. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll have 3 circles, and then we're going to have, let's get some stars as well. All right, we'll get some stars. And we'll just draw a star. And once again, I'll Control Alt and Home. And then I'll just duplicate this twice. Well, let's call it star 1. And then 2 more stars, and we'll just sort of move these across here. So here's star 3, star 2 in the middle there. And we can kind of like line these up like so, line these up, and line these up as well. Center all these guys. Okay, cool. So the idea here is talking about automation, right? We're going to automate these things to move and to animate in a variety of different ways here. So let's focus in on our circles. So we're going to take circle 1, and we're going to hit the letter P on the keyboard for position, and we're going to hold down the Alt key and click on the stopwatch next to the position, and type this word wiggle. W-I-G-G-L-E, and you should see temporal wiggle, wiggle, and then wiggles second, right? We want this middle one here, and we'll just highlight that and press enter, and then let's click off of this, and we'll see a big error, right? This project contains expression error 1 of 1. Okay, so whenever you see this, usually what this means is either there's something wrong with your code, or your code is incomplete. Now, when I say code, I just mean your expression. In this case, we are once again using the JavaScript coding language. So there's a variety of things that you need. So it's not super important, like all the ins and outs of it, but suffice it to say, whenever you see this little parentheses here, usually that means that something belongs there. So in this case, we have what we call 2 parameters, and we need to feed in 2 arguments to fulfill the parameters. So this is right here, this needs to be between 2 and 5 arguments is what it's looking for. So in this case, it's looking for 2 things. The number of times per second that it wiggles, so like, call this one frequency, and then how much it's going to wiggle. So effectively what this wiggle expression is just randomization. So it's going to randomize our position. So I'm going to put down, let's say for instance, 5. And then I'm going to put in, say for instance, 10. So I'm going to say it's going to wiggle 5 times per second, and it's going to wiggle 10, in this case, pixels. So let's see what happens. If you look real close, you can kind of see it's kind of bobbing around here, right? So I'm going to copy this, Control C, and then I'm going to get my text tool, and I'm just going to Control V, right? So I'm just going to say, this is the code that I put for this one, wiggle 5, 10. Okay, so there's that. All right, wiggle 5, 10. All right, so let's go over here to circle number 2 and we'll hit P for position. And once again, hold down the Alt key, click on position, type in wiggle, W-I-G-G-L-E, and then hit enter when it highlights the middle expression there. And let's do something a little bit different, right? So we can do 5, 10, right? Let's make it go a little faster. How about this? How about we go about 15 times per second, and then maybe we keep this the same, right? well, we keep it 10, right? So let's watch what happens here. So go back over here. Oh, here we go. We're on this one. I'm going to move this one over this way and this one over here. All right, so we've got this. All right, do we notice here that it's moving about the same amount, but it's moving a lot faster, right? So 15 times a second. It's vibrating in place. Now, I'm going to keep it at 15, but I do want to do a little experiment here. I want to show us, so in this case, our composition is 24 frames a second, which means that's about as fast as it can go, 24 frames a second. So if I do this 24 times, this is basically as fast as we can go on this. Anything else, and we're not going to be really see any demonstrable difference. If I go like 50, it's not going to look much different. I mean, it's really like, I mean, it might be changing, but it's not going to be any real different, right? Because there's a variety of divisions of time, but once you get past a certain point, you're just like sort of, kind of, spinning your wheels there, right? So let's keep it at 15 for now. And once again, I'm going to copy this, Control C, and then get my text tool. And then just Control V, and we'll shrink this down some more too, as well too, just to make some room. Hold down Shift while you do that. Okay, and then what we'll do over here with our circle 3 is we'll do the same thing. We'll just move this down here. Hold down the Alt key. Oops, hit P for position. Hold down the Alt key. Click on the stopwatch. Type in the word wiggle. Click in here first, and then type the word wiggle. And then what we'll do is we'll do 5, but instead of doing 10, we'll change the second number. How about we do 30, right? So it's not a huge amount of difference, but it is a distinct difference, right? So you can see here's wiggle 510, and here's wiggle 530. Notice here it's moving a lot more. It's going back and forth a lot more. So effectively what we got here is this method of randomization. I want this to kind of like move around in place, and I want it to move randomly. So I'm going to put in the word wiggle, and I'm going to have it move randomly across. Now, in this case, once again, we only have so much room that we can go through, and if we are moving too far, it's possible that, like, if I say, I want you to move 4,000 pixels, well, this whole thing is only about 2,000 pixels across, so it could very conceivably just disappear and only randomly appear here. So we do want to make sure we're balancing out how much we've got. So there's wiggle 530, and let's just copy this, Control C, and then we could just as easily Control D over here, move this over this way, and then Control V, and so we got that. All right, and so we can kind of put those side by side, sort of label those, as it were, right? So here's that. Okay, there we go. And you notice here it's drifting around a variety of places, and this is just drifting in place, and this is going really fast. All right, cool. So let's just line up our text, and these are moving around, so there's not a whole lot we can do there. All right, so there's that. All right, so obviously we can use wiggle with our position. That's very obviously what we can do. But the cool thing about wiggle is that it can actually work in a variety of different ways here. So in this case, with the first star, let's hit R on the keyboard, and let's do the same thing. Hold down the Alt key and hit wiggle. And then let's do this, I don't know, maybe like 3 times a second. And then let's only have it rotate about 30 degrees, right? So we're going to rotate 30 degrees. And you can see right here, it's just kind of seesawing in place, just a dancing little star there, right? So that's kind of cool. And we can just do, label this right here. We can just hold on the Alt key, and we can just Control D and just move this down and say rotation, like there. And so now we've got the rotation wiggling. And then we can do the same thing for a variety of different transform controls. What if I went over here and did maybe did scale? Hold down the Alt key and then click on that, and then we could do scale. We could do wiggle, and then again we could maybe do this. We could do this a little bit more quickly. We could do maybe 10 times per second. But in this case, we don't really want to make it too bigger. So what we could do is we could maybe like do like, I don't know, like 20. And I think this would be like a 20% change. So you can see here we've got a variety of things happening. It's both getting fatter and thinner and taller at the same time. So it's actually, not linking the height and the width. So that's kind of cool. So let's just hold on, just Control D this, and move this over this way, and type in the word scale. And I think it'd be neat if we could fiddle around with something else here. I don't know if this would work. Let's go over here to our effects, and let's type the word glow. So we're going to bring this this effect for glow onto this third star here. So let's drag glow right there. And we should, if we get in close, we should be able to see this little glow here. I'm going to go over here. It says glow radius, and you can kind of like see that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say this is like a glow colors. Let's do AB colors. That way, it's going to have a kind of like a whitish golden glow here. We can kind of like see that kind of glowing, or maybe we do more like a yellowish color here. See about that? Maybe stick back to original colors. Okay, that's fine. All right, and so there we go. And so we have this. But what we can do with this is we can do the same thing with our glow intensity, right? Glow radius. Let's hold down the Alt key and let's click on the glow radius, and then we can just put in wiggle for that. Oh, what's happening here? Control Z. All right. Once again, hold down the Alt key, click on glow radius, and then make sure we're down here. And we can type in wiggle, and then we can put in, I don't know, maybe like 4 times a second, and we can actually go all the way up to 100, right? So let's take a look, see what happens here. You see like there's a little pulsing kind of glow happening to the star. So the takeaway from this is that glow can work for position, and I think we'll probably mostly be using it for position, but it can be used for any kind of transform control as well as any kind of aspect that can be animated on any effect that you ever add in anything. So let me just Control D this one more time, bring this over here, put in glow radius, and then let's type our names on this, and then we'll export it as a D2L file. So it's as an MP4 rather, D2L. Turn it into D2L and as an MP4. So let's go down here, up here, just type your name. All right, and we'll just fit that to place. And there we go. Cool. All right. Awesome. Control M on the keyboard. Bring up your wiggle expression. Make sure you type your last name on it here. And just hit render. Awesome, guys. Can't wait to see you guys produce. I'll see you guys in class.